Welcome, boys and girls, to Welbeck Detective Agency. My name is Agent J, and we're on the lookout over the next 4 weeks for a man who did lots of good things. We want to understand why he did them and who he was. Some people have reported he goes by the name of Jesus, but who was he and why did he come? Let's investigate together, boys and girls, over the course of the next 4 weeks. Welcome to our holiday club. This is something new. We're doing it online this year, and we're sad not to be in the hall, but we're still going to have lots of fun. You look out over the next 4 Mondays for all the investigations that we need to take, and we'll work on that together. Well, we're going to go straight into our theme song now, boys and girls, and we're going to sing He is the King of Kings.
Let's go! He's the King of Kings, He's the Lord of Lords. He can heal the sick, He can calm the storm. He's the Son of God, He can save us from sin, and He calls us to follow Him. Jesus met a man covered in disease, knew he needed to be clean. Jesus just touched him, the disease was gone. Only God could do that.
Who is this man?
He's the King of Kings, He's the Lord of Lords. He can heal the sick, He can calm the storm. He's the Son of God, He can save us from sin, and He calls us to follow Him. Jesus and His friends caught in a storm, looking like they're gonna drown. Jesus yelled, "Quiet!" and the storm was calm. Only God could do that.
Who is this man?
He's the King of Kings, He's the Lord of Lords. He can heal the sick, He can calm the storm. He's the Son of God, He can save us from sin, and He calls us to follow Him. Yeah, Jesus on a cross was crucified. Darkness covered all the land. After 3 days, Jesus rose again. Only God could do that.
Who is this man?
We know who He is. He's the King of Kings, He's the Lord of Lords. He can heal the sick, He can calm the storm. He's the Son of God, He can save us from sin, and He calls us to follow Him. Yes, He calls us to follow Him. Are you gonna follow Him?
Welcome back, boys and girls. Hope you enjoyed that singing. That was a favourite, wasn't it? He is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Well, I wonder what's happening. Oh, just a second. There's an incoming call. Hello? Yes, this is Agent J at the Welbeck Detective Agency. Yes, I've got a full team on the case. You've heard? Oh, right. Jesus was spotted by a lake. Right, well, we better get straight over and find out some more information. Thanks for the call. Well, boys and girls, that's an interesting update. I wonder who this Jesus is. He's been spotted by a lake. Let's find out what he was up to.
Who was this man? It was as if he had appeared from nowhere. They say that he'd grown up in Nazareth and was the son of a carpenter, but no one had ever heard a carpenter speak like this before. The things he was saying and doing were amazing. They were unlike anything anyone had ever seen or heard before, and it's no wonder that huge crowds followed him round wherever he went. They were just so interested in what he had to say. Well, he had been on the mountain teaching and preaching to people for a very long time. And when he came down the mountain, people still followed him. All the way to Capernaum, in fact, they followed him. They just wouldn't leave him alone. They wanted to hear him and see the wonderful things that he was doing and all of his marvellous deeds and wonders. They just couldn't get enough of this man, Jesus. But Jesus had work to do, and he was on his way to a place called the Gadarenes, where he knew that there were 2 men needed him. But the Gadarenes, it was at the other side of a lake, and the lake was a fairly big lake. Now, Jesus and his disciples, his friends, they could have all walked around the lake, but Jesus was tired. And so it was perhaps for that reason that he decided it would be a good idea to sail across the lake instead. Now, it was a good thing for him that some of his friends were fishermen. And some of his disciples had been fishermen before they left their job, they left their nets to come and follow Jesus and be with him and learn from him. And so these men had boats. And they went down to the lake and they got into one of these boats. Now, they weren't the kind of boats that were nice fancy yachts like we might think of in nice harbours today. This was a scruffy, dirty, old, smelly fishing boat. But it was going to do the job for Jesus and his disciples. And so they all got on board and they set off. And it was a beautiful, calm day. And the disciples, who were very experienced fishermen, very experienced in sailing a boat, sailed out into the Sea of Galilee. And Jesus, who'd been very, very busy and very, very tired, went down to the bottom of the boat and fell fast asleep. But boys and girls, this was the Sea of Galilee. This was the Lake of Galilee, and it was very famous in the area for its very unpredictable weather. And the men had not sailed out very far when all of a sudden the waves started to get a little bit choppier. All of a sudden the sky, which had been beautiful and blue, began to cloud over. All of a sudden in the distance they heard a little rumble, and soon and suddenly and so quickly a storm began to gather. The waves, they got bigger and bigger and bigger. The clouds got darker and heavier, and all of a sudden the rain began pelting down onto the boat. There was thunder, there was lightning, there was flashes, there was waves crashing over the side of the boat. This, boys and girls, was no ordinary storm. Now these men, they were used to dealing with storms. They'd been in storms on this lake before. They fished for a living. But as they wrestled with this storm, they just couldn't keep the boat safe. They were really beginning, boys and girls, to fear for their lives as their boat got tossed to and fro, ravaged by the force of nature. All of their experience out in the water, it just counted for nothing. They had never seen or experienced anything like this. What was going to happen to them? Were they going to drown? The men cried out in fear. They were terrified. How was it all going to end? But there was one man on the boat, and the storm didn't seem to bother him. In fact, it was bothering him so little that he was actually still asleep. Jesus was still perfectly sleeping, oblivious to everything going on at the bottom of the boat. Well, in their terrified state, the disciples came rushing down to where Jesus was. They shook him awake and they said, "Lord, save us! We are going to drown!" Slowly, Jesus got up. Boys and girls, he was really unhappy. In fact, he was more than unhappy. He was really disappointed. Not because they'd woken him up. He didn't mind that they'd woken him up. What he minded about was that, boys and girls, these men had been with Jesus for so long now. They had heard the things that Jesus had said. They'd seen the things that he did, and yet they still didn't believe him. And so he said to them, "Oh, you of little faith." In other words, why don't you yet believe? Why are you so afraid? They'd seen him do wonderful things. They'd heard him say amazing things. They should have known, boys and girls. But they were blind. They didn't know who Jesus really was. Jesus got up very calmly, very quietly, and he did something that made the disciples' jaws drop to the floor in amazement. He stood at the top of the boat and he simply said, "Be still." And just like that, the wind which had been tossing the boat to and fro, the rain that had been crashing on the side, the thunder and lightning that had been blazing through the sky, stopped. Everything was still. Now, the disciples had seen storms before, and they knew from their experience that storms did not just do this. Storms did not calm themselves that quickly. It took hours for the sea to return to normal after a storm. This was unbelievable. Just simply by saying, "Be calm," the storm stopped like that. Boys and girls, storms happen all the time, don't they? Sometimes real storms happen outside, but sometimes there are storms that happen in our lives. I wonder if you've ever thought about or ever wondered why they do that. What causes our weather to be as unpredictable as it is, and why are there so many difficulties and dangers and things that go wrong in our lives? See, the Bible teaches us, boys and girls, that when the world was created by God, it was created to be perfect. It was completely in balance until man came along and until man and woman came along. You see, boys and girls, God gave man and woman the opportunity, the choice to obey God on one hand and live in harmony with Him and live in harmony with nature, or to disregard God's laws completely, go our own way, but we would have to suffer the consequences of that. And what did man do? What did woman do? Well, they chose, boys and girls, to go against what God had told them to do. They chose to disobey God's law, knowing that it would bring terrible consequences for them. See, they decided that they were going to go their own way. They decided that they were going to break God's law, or sin. That's what the Bible calls it, boys and girls. Every time we do anything that goes against what God wants us to do, it's called sin. And because of this, our world is in a mess. Because of sin, our lives are in a mess. But you know, the wonderful thing is, boys and girls, that God has a plan to mend our relationship with Him, and a plan that this man Jesus might just be part of. The disciples could not believe what they had seen. They couldn't believe what had happened, and each one of them asked the same question: who is this man? Who is this man that even the wind and waves obey him? This man Jesus was powerful, more powerful than anyone the disciples had ever met before, or any man who had ever been on the earth before. You see, this man Jesus, he had the power to control nature, just simply by speaking to it. When Jesus spoke, nature obeyed him. But why? What was so difficult about him? Why was he able to do this? Well, to find the answer to that, boys and girls, we need to search for some clues. And there's only one place that we can go to find the answer. So we need to put our detective hats on and get our magnifying glasses out and see what the Bible has to say. And so I want us to look at John 1 verse 10. And it says this: He came into the world. The world was made by Him. Well, who is this talking about, boys and girls? Who is this He that John is talking about in this verse? Well, He is Jesus. So if we take out the word He and put in Jesus, this verse might make a little more sense, because it says Jesus came into the world, and the world was made by Jesus. So it's no wonder that the wind and waves obey Him, boys and girls. The wind and waves obey Him because He controls them, because He made them. What an amazing man this Jesus is turning out to be. So what have we learned? Well, let's look at our evidence board. Every week in our holiday club, we're going to be looking at our evidence board, and we're going to be adding to it so that hopefully it's going to build up a picture of who this man Jesus is, and ultimately what it is that He came to do. And so our first piece on our evidence board tells us that Jesus has power over nature. Why? Because He created it. What an amazing truth, boys and girls. What are we going to learn next time? I don't know, but I know for a fact I am really, really excited to find out, and I hope that you are too. So let's continue to be detectives together. Come back next week and we'll see what the Bible has to teach us about this man, Jesus.
Well, thank you, Agent Sharon. That was great to find out all the things that Jesus has been doing by the lake. So Jesus has power over the wind and the waves. That's interesting, isn't it, boys and girls? we're starting to understand who Jesus is and what he can do. And we've learned that Jesus can do these things because he made the wind and the waves right at the beginning. Well, time for some exercise now, boys and girls. Time to stretch your legs and stretch your arms, and we're going to have some games. I hope you're ready for this. Have fun.
Let's play the bean game. Now, I'm going to say some different types of bean and you have to do the actions. So, jelly bean, string bean, chili bean, runner bean, beans in a tin. Now, either hug yourself or someone else. And then baked beans. You have to lie on the floor for this one. Okay, have you got that then? I'm going to say them in a totally random order and you have to do the actions. Okay, ready, steady, go! Runner bean, string bean, runner bean, string bean, jelly bean, chili bean, jelly bean, chili bean, beans in a tin, chili bean, beans in a tin, string bean, baked beans, runner bean, baked bean, runner bean, baked bean, jelly bean, string bean, chili bean, baked bean, beans in a tin. Oh, and I think we'll leave that there.
Oh, I need a rest after all that activity, boys and girls. I hope you enjoyed those games. And thanks to Agent V for doing all the games for us during our holiday club. Well, let me look at what's coming next. Oh, we're going to sing another song. Time to get your breath back, boys and girls, and we're going to sing Wide and Long and High and Deep. And let's see who's doing the actions the best.
Wide and long and high and deep. Wide and long and high and deep. Wide and long and high and deep. It's the love of Jesus. Wide and long and high and deep. Wide and long and high and deep. Wide and long and high and deep. It's the love of Jesus for us. And we pray that we will know this love, and we pray that we will grow in love, and we pray that we will be filled up with the Spirit of God. Wide and long and high and deep. Wide and long and high and deep. Wide and long and high and deep. It's the love of Jesus. Wide and long and high and deep. Wide and long and high and deep. Wide and long and high and deep. It's the love of Jesus for us. And we pray that we will know this love, and we pray that we will grow in love, and we pray that we will be filled up with the Spirit of God. Wide and long and high and deep. Wide and long and high and deep. Wide and long and high and deep. It's the love of Jesus. Wide and long and high and deep. Wide and long and high and deep. Wide and long and high and deep. It's the love of Jesus. It's the love of Jesus. It's the love of Jesus for us.
Well done, boys and girls. I could see some great singing there. I hope you're enjoying all this fun at the Holiday Club this year as we think about the Welbeck Detective Agency and who is this man? Jesus. Let me see what's coming up next in our investigation schedule. Oh, we're going to get our creative juices flowing now. We're going to do some craft and we're going to build something to do with a story. We're going to build our Wind and Waves mobile. Over to Agent S, who'll show us what to do.
Hello boys and girls and welcome to our very first craft at the Holiday Club. Every week we are going to be doing a craft that will help you to remember the story that we have been looking at in our Holiday Club. Now today we were learning about Jesus and his disciples crossing over the Sea of Galilee and a great storm blew up. So we are going to be making our very own Wind and Waves windsock craft that you can hang up in your room, preferably at an open window, and then you can watch it blow in the breeze. Now, if you want to make your very own windsock windcraft, that's quite hard to say, you're going to need a few different things. So the first thing you are going to need is some card, any kind of colour card that you wish. I've got a nice yellow one here, but you can have any colour that you wish. You then also want some pens and some pencils to be able to draw your picture onto your piece of card. Now, if you don't want to draw a picture, what you can do is you can follow the links below that will give you detailed instructions on how to make this craft, but also a template that you can go on and you can print out and you can use on your piece of card, and then you can colour that in beautifully. It's up to you, boys and girls. Personally, I would like to see you draw your own picture because I think that would look much better than the one that's on the computer. You're then going to need some glue. You are also going to need some tissue cut into strips like this that are going to go on the bottom. You're going to need a nice piece of card or a piece of ribbon or a piece of cord, whatever you wish, for your handle. And then a stapler. So boys and girls, are we ready to see how we can make our very own Wind and Waves windsock craft?
So step number 1 is to get your picture onto your piece of card. You can either download the picture that is on the link below, or you can draw your own, like I'm doing here. I think this is going to be much nicer because it means that your picture isn't going to be like anyone else's and yours will be completely unique. So have a go. Do your own picture. Let's have Jesus in his boat, calming the waves and making them still. So that is step number 1. So once your picture is finished, what you want to do is you want to get lots of lovely coloured pens and colour in your picture. You want to make it as colourful as you possibly can. In fact, why don't you even think about sticking some lovely stickers onto your craft, onto your picture? When you colour them in, it will look absolutely beautiful. So once your picture is finished, turn it over. And at the bottom end of your picture, get your glue and do a lovely strip of glue the whole way along the bottom. Put plenty on, but make sure that it is at the bottom of your picture, boys and girls, because you don't want to glue your tissue paper onto the wrong bit. When you've got your glue on, get your tissue and stick them on whatever order that you wish, however far apart that you wish. I'm putting some lovely different coloured ones on here to make my picture look absolutely beautiful. And when you've done that, your picture should look like this. So now that your picture is complete, you want to put it down again and then roll it around. You might want to get someone to help you with this. And then get a staple and staple the top and the bottom. And if you've got a rather long staple, you can staple the middle as well. But I would definitely get an adult to help you. Finally, you want to get your piece of card that's going to make your handle. And again, you want to staple it into place. Staple on one side
and then a staple on the other side. And now you have a beautiful handle. So boys and girls, you can make your own wind and waves windsock craft that will help you to remember the story that we looked at today when Jesus and his disciples were on the lake and Jesus calmed the storm simply by speaking to it. It reminds us, of course, that Jesus has control over nature because he made it. Now, we're going to set you a challenge. I would love it if every week you joined in with making these crafts with us. And so if you do actually want to make the craft, you can find all of the instructions and the template for our picture underneath the video in the links below. You just simply print them out and then you can make one of these crafts also. And if you do make one of these crafts, boys and girls, we would love to see it. So why don't you get someone at home to take a photograph of your craft, of your wind and waves windsock craft, and send it to us at info@welbeckroadchurch.org.uk, and we would absolutely love to see them. And who knows, maybe next week at the Holiday Club, your craft might be featured. So have a really great week, a really fantastic crafting week, and we will see you again next week in our next craft session. Bye boys and girls!
Well done, boys and girls. I'm sure you enjoyed that craft. Don't forget to send in some pictures, info@welbeckroadchurch.org.uk. Well, that's the end of our first Monday's Holiday Club session for 2020. We hope you've had some great fun as you follow the investigation into who Jesus is. Let's remind ourselves of what we found out today. Jesus has power over nature. He commanded the wind and the waves to stop, and they stopped. And that's because he made them in the beginning. Well, we hope you have lots of fun next week when you come back on Monday. And in the meantime, we want to set you a challenge. We want you to go on a secret mission to continue the detective work. And we'd like you to take a photograph or perhaps draw a picture of some water. Maybe you can go to a lake or go to the seaside or perhaps down to the river. And let's think a bit more about what Jesus was able to do on the Sea of Galilee. You send in those pictures to the email address that we said earlier, info@welbeckroadchurch.org.uk, and maybe we'll be able to show some of those next time. So we'll see you next week, boys and girls. This is Agent J signing out.